faster than a speeding typewriter, more powerful than a printing press, able to speak over tall buildings in a single sound. Look, up on the dial!
It's a conservative!
It's a liberal! It's Supermouth! Yes, it's Supermouth, strange visitor from the past with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal talk show hosts. Supermouth, who can change the course of local politics, bend ears with his bare mouth, and who, disguised as Mike Wiley, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan radio show, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock here in the free and independent state of Florida. This is a special edition show because it had to be done. I can't sit back and watch and observe and not have anybody else catch it. Fortunately, I actually saw Mark Levin basically talk about this last night. And I thought, geez, isn't that interesting? We're both on the same wavelength, which tends to happen sometimes when we just feel it's time to talk about stuff. He goes things into difference in one way, I do it in another. So today, this show has to do with the problem that we have in this country. We have these people that go on TV and all they do is lie, constantly lie. And I don't think no one's ever presented to you what you're watching or have you understand what you're watching. So, just going to move this a little bit, get the TV, the laptop out of this show. Okay. So, I'm going to go over some things with you. I'm going to show you some videos. As you know, if you know my show, when I talk about stuff, I always like to provide evidence. It's just the pro se lawyer in me that when I say something, I want to present it and say, hey, see, this is true. For instance, I always do this. I always jump off... Oh, I know, I put it in here. I always jump off. Okay, for instance, if I told you that Pete Buttigieg, the Indiana butt boy, and I call him the Indiana butt boy, not for what you probably think I'm saying, but because he's the perfect butt boy. In other words, he'll come out and he'll say stuff, but... And we're going to show a clip of you of this dumbbell. He is a dumbbell. They want to make it seem like he's intelligent and this, you know, they may even be trying to think that we should have this garbage as president, and we're, God forbid. For the past 4 years, the Democrats and the Biden administration have destroyed this country beyond realm. There's no doubt about it, except for those people who are in the propaganda business, okay? And so I just wanted to show to you that said, okay, if I told you that $7.5 billion was spent by Mr. Buttigieg, and he got a total of 8 charging stations out of it, that means he spent almost $1 billion in 2 years per charging station. Do you really think they think this is going to work? Do you really think the people on this electric vehicle climate change scam really have any interest in providing the electricity and electric power that we need? Do you know that these windmills all over the country are falling apart? Because they're made of some kind of composite, and after a while they just go, and they fall and they kill people and everything. That's why it's called the Green New Scam, because it is a scam. It was always a scam. If you don't remember, Barack Obama started it when he first became president. he couldn't have been president because you got to be a natural-born American. And I haven't seen documentation that proves that he is a natural-born American. I'm sorry, but I didn't buy that fake birth certificate shit, okay? First of all, why does Perkins Coie have to fly some attorney out to Hawaii to get a copy of a birth certificate? Couldn't you just call them up and go, hey, can you make us a copy, approved, official signed copy, and send it to us? Thank you. No, they have to send an attorney out there. Why? Because they had to make sure what they brought back would make us believe he's an American? Let me tell you something. I'm going off script here for a second. Barack Obama is a black guy. And one thing we kind of know of is that black Americans, when they get involved in our country, they tend to do outstanding representation of this country. Like the Tuskegee Airmen, okay? Carl Brashear, first black deep water master diver, okay? During the American Revolution, during the Civil War. So here's this black guy, and he's going to be the first black president, and he doesn't do a damn thing. He's a fake. He's a fake. And of course his birth certificate doesn't match anything, because when he was running around thinking about going to the Senate, and before that, they used to say, Barack Obama, born in Kenya. He was Kenyan born, Kenyan born, Kenyan born. And all of a sudden all that shit went away. Like, oh, you can't say that because then he can't become president. Just like Kamala Harris can't become president because her parents weren't Americans. So she's not a natural born American. But anyways, who cares? She's as dumb as a rock as it is. So when I say stuff, I like to provide proof because I don't want you to doubt anything I say. I may say it a little wrong or I may have left something out. The idea, though, is to present to you what most people aren't presenting to you. It's not a secret that they spent $7.5 billion, $7.5 billion on 8 charging stations. For a moment, let's just think of what the American nation could have spent that $8 billion on instead of 8 charging stations. Now, do you really think they spent $7.5 billion of federal funds on 8 charging stations? Come on! They must have taken $1 billion, siphoned it out, and sent it to the Democratic Party to use for campaign money. Where do you think the Democrats always get money for campaigns? They have a program of where they pull money off of the government, they spend it, it gets kicked back. They've been doing this for years. Doing it for years. All right, so I'm going to go through some notes here. This is not going to be a long show. But the bullshit started right after the RNC convention, and they attacked and they attacked and they attacked. But how do you attack the truth? So if the Republicans come up there and they do this and they do that, and everything they say, from what I can understand and see, is the truth, how can they say that it's not the truth? What are they doing? What concept is the Democratic Party employing? And have we ever seen that type of program, that type of philosophy, that type of scam done in the world before? Actually, 100 years ago. Yeah, 100 years ago, there were these left-wing Marxist, fascist Nazis in Germany. And no, I'm not comparing the Democrats to Nazis. I'm comparing the far-left Looney Tunes squad making believe they represent the Democratic Party. Now, I'm just going to stop for a second and let you know I'm the son and grandson of Teamsters. I grew up in a union house. My parents were Democrats. When I ran for U.S. Senate in 1994, when a bunch of Republicans came up to me and says, Mike, you saved our gun rights. Now will you go ahead and fight Connie Mack? And so I did, but I ran as an American populist. And actually, I started this concept called America First. Yeah, it was me. There's documented proof. It's there. Go on my website, WileyInformationNetwork.com, and you'll see the documents up there. And you'll see the newspaper article where they say Mike Wiley going around with his America First agenda. So yeah, that's proof. Okay. So if there's anyone that knows all about America First, it's me. Okay. Now, how do they come up with America First? I don't know. Let's see. I was born in a union house, raised by the Teamster dad. Had one granddad had passed before I was born, so I never met him. But my other granddad used to live with us for a while. He actually was killed by a snowball. He was, I think, 65. And he was doing his walk, and some kids threw snowballs at him, and one kid hit him right in the head with the snowball. He got into the house. He got on the phone to call my Uncle Albert, and he died right on the phone. So he was a Teamster. He's the one that was born in Russia, and he's the one who my Russian blood flows through. He was a tough son of a bitch. He wasn't the big guy. But he was hardworking guy. So I can't take it any longer to sit back without getting fully invaded and into this system of going after the Democrats and their bullshit. Okay? Why? Well, because maybe some of my relatives that were from Germany, because part of my ancestry is German, probably didn't make it because of the Nazis. Now, why didn't Jewish people survive the Nazis? What could it be? Well, let's see. Nazi propaganda. The Nazis effectively used propaganda to win the support of millions of Germans in a democracy and later in a dictatorship. Oh, you mean you can use propaganda in a democracy to facilitate persecution, war, and ultimately genocide? Genocide? Who did they kill? Oh, that's right. They killed 6 million Jews. They put them on trains and they sent them out to Eastern Germany and then into Poland. And they put them in places like Auschwitz and gassed them and killed them, and it was horrendous. But that's who the Nazis were. And so I'm always on the bell ringer. When I see people acting like Nazis, I'm going to speak out. And I'm going to shove it right up their ass. Or down their throat. You have a choice. Okay? Because I sure as hell ain't no proctologist. The stereotypes and images found in Nazi propaganda were not new, but were already familiar to the intended audience. Intended audience. So when we see Joe Biden in front of the White House, supposedly with some red, whatever it was that he put up with the lights and stuff, and he began coming out with a speech that probably came right off Adolf Hitler's worksheet. They're attacking MAGA. Now, what does MAGA have in common with Jews? Well, let's see. MAGA, MAGA, Jews, JEWS. Wow! Jews and MAGA. Interesting. What does MAGA stand for? Mutilate all whatever? No, MAGA actually stands for Make America Great Again. Now, I know there's nobody in this country that would like to see America made better, huh? Especially after the 4 years of the Fruit Loops that have been run around in this country, destroying everything, killing us. ruining our lives, destroying our economy, everything. And so I can no longer sit back and not shove this shit back up their ass. So I'm at war, and it starts today. I'm still going to continue to do the shows I've already got planned, which are the treason trials, because what a lot of you don't know, I've been involved in the war on America. I used to call it the Clinton War in America, and then it became the Obama War in America, and then it's the Joe Biden War in America. But it's really the Manchurians War in America that started in 1992 when the Chinese Manchurian communists decided to buy the Democratic Party. And we'll cover that because the first show of the treason trials is the Clintons. And we're going to show everything the Clintons were up to, all the people that died, Waco, Oklahoma City, Mogadishu. We're going to cover all that. Then we're going to cover the billions of dollars they stole from the American people with Fannie Mae 1, Fannie Mae 2, and then they came up with the TARP money. Huh? That's the treason trials. Because someday there's going to be trials, and the guilty will be put in front of a court, and they will be prosecuted within the Constitution and within the laws, okay? The Democrats don't believe in that. They don't believe in the Constitution, and so that's why they violate it by violating due process as required by the Constitution, and we're going to get into parts of that because that's part of their program. So, Nazis. What were the Nazis trying to accomplish? The Nazis were skilled propagandists who used sophisticated advertising techniques and the most current technology of the time to spread their messages. Once in power, Adolf Hitler created a ministry of public enlightenment and propaganda to shape German public opinion and behavior. Really? So the Democrats spend all this money. Right now they're running a $50 million campaign on a lie, which we're going to cover, okay? Because remember, everything the Democrats do is full of shit, and I am the up-your-ass guy because I'm going to go after it. I'm sorry. I love Mark Levin. Mark's a nice guy, nice Jewish guy. He's very smart. He's got a law degree. And he does things, not me. Gotta remember, I'm the son and grandson of Teamsters, okay? I stood on the lines of Consolidated Freightways in 1994 when they went out on strike. I stood on the strike lines. And you know what's interesting? And this is really great. They've got this guy named J.D. Vance, and they've made him the vice presidential candidate to go with Trump. And this guy gets on TV, and he word for word talks basically my campaign of 1994. Really? How could he do that? Unless he understands the concept of populism. We're not conservatives. We're American populists like Andrew Jackson. What's a populist? A populist is a president or a candidate or a person who believes that the average American person needs to be protected and taken care of by their government in terms of allowing them the ability to make the best that they can for themselves. Andrew Jackson was against the big bankers. He got rid of the second bank. The Democrats brought it back in 1913, the progressive scum lords of the Democratic Party, along with help from their Republican Manchurians. Of course, the Republicans weren't Manchurians in 1913 because the Communist Party wasn't established in China until 1949, and the Manchurians really didn't come into here until after the Soviet Union fell, and then they picked up the franchise for communism. And the first thing they did was go, let's buy a political party that's pretty much far left Looney Tune like communism, and hey, it's the Democrats. Let's put them into power. Let's give those two people Clintons. Yeah, I think we can get them to kill people. Not on purpose, of course, just accidental. Like the Oklahoma City bombing when the ATF happened to have somebody that they knew about these neo-Nazis in Ponca City, Oklahoma, and they were planning to do something. And of course, the Clintons had this propaganda plan set up to make people think that Americans, white Americans with guns, are white supremacists and they're Nazis. Yeah, let's make believe that white supremacists are every Republican and let's create evil. Hey, pull out the book on Nazi propaganda. That's what we're going to use. Once in power, Adolf Hitler created a ministry of public engagement and propaganda to shape German public opinion and behavior. Nazi propaganda played an integral role in advancing the persecution and ultimately the destruction of Europe's Jews. It incited hatred and fostered a climate of indifference to their fate. Wow, holy shit. Hey, Joe, you and the Democrats been doing that for 4 years, haven't you? Hey, by the way, Joe, are you really the President of the United States? Do you think you are? I bet you're not, okay? I bet you're not. Why don't you call up your buddy Nancy, the 84-year-old bitch from outer space, and ask her, by the way, Nancy, on January 6th, did you actually have a quorum? Nancy, did you have a quorum when you pulled all this bullshit off and had the January 6th supposed insurrection? Did you? Oh, you didn't. So I'm not really president. Trump still is. I don't know why nobody's gone after him for that. Maybe they're just saying, nah, it's too much. So, in 1924, Adolf Hitler wrote that propaganda's task is not to make an objective study of the truth, insofar as it favors the enemy, and then set it before the masses with academic fairness. Its task is to serve our own right, always and unflinchingly. Following the Nazi seizure of power in 1933, Hitler established a Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, headed by Joseph Goebbels. The ministry aim was to ensure that Nazi message was successfully communicated through art, music, theater, films, books, radio, educational materials, and the press. Really? Holy shit. Is that why we see Democrat bullshit propaganda everywhere? Well, the Democrats are just acting like Nazis. Prove me wrong. Go ahead. Prove me wrong. By the way, I will debate any one of you assholes from CNN, MSNBC. Invite me onto your show, and I'll tear you to shreds on television. You don't believe me? Ask Hillary Clinton. She's seen it. She knows. There were several audiences for Nazi propaganda. Germans were reminded of the struggle against foreign enemies and Jewish subversion during periods preceding legislation or executive measures. Preceding legislation? Wow. Or executive measures against Jews. Propaganda campaigns created an atmosphere tolerant of violence against Jews, particularly in 1935 before the Nuremberg race laws of September, and in 1938 prior to the barrage of anti-Semitic economic legislation following Kristallnacht. Really? I wonder if they would have tried to assassinate somebody like Donald Trump. Huh. Okay, folks. So the Nazi propaganda machine is operating in the United States today, and the program, the rights to the Nazi propaganda program is well within the reach of the Democratic Party. That makes him my enemy. Now, I myself am pretty fluent in what's going on. And I know that there's a group of Democrats out there. Matter of fact, in the 30s, they were referred to as God and Country Democrats. God and Country Democrats. And they were actually the only religious portion of Democrats because blacks at that time were still Republicans. See, the Republicans, blacks were Republicans, and from 1900 to 1930, they built up businesses and industry in their cities, and everything was going well. The only problem was the Democrats, with their Nazi propaganda program, felt that they needed to get Democrats to come back to the Democratic Party. Of course, blacks have never actually been in the Democratic Party. Okay, no, they weren't. So, what are they going to do? I mean, think about it. What are the Democrats going to do to get blacks to come to the Democratic Party? Now, we know that somewhere between 1930, when the golden era of black business disappeared, I wonder if it had anything to do with that 1929 to 1931 fake crash in 1929 that didn't actually crash until 1931, once the Democrats took over. Because you see, the Democrats like to cause problems the year before an election, and then everybody goes, oh, let's vote for the Democrats. They suck, but this shit we've been going through for a long time. A long time. I, in my heart, believe that the existence of a far left Marxist, radical, social fascist group of people will never live within the realm of a republic, a constitutional republic. They will never want to follow the laws, just like they don't now. So at some point in time, we're going to have to split from them. And that's the second series of shows I'm going to be doing the week after next week. It's called The Great Secession or The Great Divorce. But I don't think we can make it as a nation. I mean, we can pull a lot of people together. Okay, Trump, if Trump can prevent from being assassinated again, because they'll probably try again. I mean, we knew they were going to do it the first time. Okay, Mike, how did you know they were going to try to assassinate Trump? I don't know. Let's see. What did the Democrats do? Let's see. In 2016, they come up with this fake, phony Russia hoax, thanks to master liar Hillary Clinton. And then they went after him for 2 years on this phony, fake investigation that he didn't do anything. But it was good because they were trying to prevent Trump from actually getting things done. See, Trump's in there and he's trying to help the American people. The Democrats don't want us helped. The Democrats don't want black people to have the lowest unemployment in their history. Blacks had more money in their pockets under Trump than they did Biden. That, you can't deny that. But I got a piece of shit on video here named Buddha Judge. He's going to say something really stupid, and we're covering him. We have a situation. Right now, the situation is to get elected and turn the country around, and hopefully we will get a large percentage of Americans, those that are in the Democratic Party, those that are independent, and those that are Republican, to support Trump and get ourselves back in the race to be the #1 country in the world. We got a lot of work to do because the Democrats have destroyed the nation in just 4 years. It's amazing. You wouldn't believe anybody could come in and do a worse job than Jimmy Carter, but hey, what else are Democrats going to do? Carter? Clinton's? Obama? Biden? Who had a really good economy? I mean, Clinton had a good economy for like a couple of years. The only problem was he was shitting the bed. It was 1995. I remember it well. The polls came out and said that Clinton was favorable of 38%. That level means he ain't getting reelected. And he's got this woman in the White House. He says that it's his wife, but we think she's actually from Mars. And she wants to rule the universe. And so she's got to do something because Bill's not going to do it. Bill's a nice guy. Bill, everybody loved Bill. Everybody hated Hillary. That's, I remember walking into a Walmart in Bentonville, Arkansas, when I was going to see the Walmart people about a fish program for the company I was working for, because they were buying our bait for fishing. And I was getting ready to take a trip out to Vegas and Arizona and visit these places for bait. So I had to go in and meet with them. And I remember walked into a Walmart, and this guy and me started talking. He starts telling me about, oh, Bill Clinton was here. He's a great guy. Everybody loved Bill Clinton. They hated Hillary. They hated Hillary. Everybody hated Hillary except Hillary and her daughter. Okay. I'm sorry, Hillary, but that's the truth. I know you don't like the truth. That's too bad. So, I've got some videos to show you about what's going on, about the propaganda that's being placed right now against the American people and the candidate that they want. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the ad, and then I'm going to take out the samurai sword and chop the shit out of it, because they're full of shit. But first, let's do this. There is this thing called The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence is a senior executive in charge of propaganda bullshit at MSNBC, one of the stations where everybody that's employed there needs to be taken out and sent to Gitmo for crimes against the nation. Now, so there's these case situations, or these stories, and they have these comments. And I couldn't help but notice that there's 4 comments made by people who evidently have no brains. None whatsoever. They must be Democrat voters. Here's the first one. I wouldn't go to jail for anyone. I don't idol worship. So many racists in this country. So many racists in this country? How many do you think there are? 5? 10? 1%? 2% of the nation? Huh? How can we get rid of the Electoral College and gerrymandering? Well, let's see. The Electoral College was created with the Constitution because we're a republic. We're not a democracy. You see? The states elect the president, not the people. It's not majority rule. It's the states. You see, for those of you that never graduated high school, you've got this thing called the presidency. That's called the executive branch. And then you have the Supreme Court, and that's called the judicial branch. And then you have the legislative, which is House and the Senate. And the House has representatives, and they're elected every 2 years, and they represent the people. And then the Senate represents the states, you see, and the states got shoved it up their ass in 1913 when the same progressives who gave us the steal our money tax code decided to let millionaires vote for Senate instead of the legislatures. Okay, now, if they hadn't done that, our nation would be in a lot better shape, because right now we would have close to 63 Republican senators in the Senate, not 49. Okay, that was the purpose. The purpose was to get us into a democracy program and get us out of the constitutional republic, because the law is strong and we are a nation of laws. But we're also a nation of communist, Marxist, propaganda pigs, and that's who we have to fight. So how can we get rid of the Electoral College? Call Hillary Clinton. She wants to get rid of the Electoral College because she wants to run for president and get elected by the 5 million people extra they have in California. See, basically what it says is it all comes down to, well, if we get California and we get 5 more million votes, then we become the president because one state voted for us, not 50 states. And then it's got gerrymandering. I happen to know gerrymandering very well. Elbridge Gerry, founding father, signed the Constitution. It's from my hometown of Marblehead, Massachusetts. I remember walking by the Gerry School. It was an elementary school. Elbridge Gerry created gerrymandering and what it was, and they had it as a picture of a snake. But what it was, they would maneuver the districts so they could get all the right people into sections so that they could get maybe 7 representatives out of 10 counties or 10 sections, 10 districts, and only lose like 3. That was the gerrymandering, okay? Well, the NAACP and the Democrats said, hey, let's become racists and let's employ gerrymandering. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these really stooge-like districts so we can get black people elected, because white people will not vote for black people. That's proven. It's been proven not in Florida, okay, because you got this guy named Byron Donalds. He's black, okay, and his district is very strong white. But for some reason, they voted for him. It must have been a mistake. But then you got this other black guy from Texas, Wesley. I think it's Wesley Hunt. Wesley went off to fight in Iraq or something and was a pilot, chopper pilot. And he's got a district that's all white people too, but they voted for him. And of course, Barack Obama was never voted on. He just put his name and go, no, the American people won't vote for a black person. That's why we have to gerrymander districts like the one we have in Florida. I think it's called the 5th district. It used to be like the 3rd district. They changed it around so you don't catch on to what they're doing. And the district would go from Jacksonville, North Jacksonville, and then it would go along the Highway 95 to Route 4 to Orlando, and then it would take the black community in Orlando and put it together, and then you had enough black people to say, hey, it's a district. That's gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is used for racism. Racism. They should never use gerrymandering to do that. But how do you think the Democrats have taken over the country? By only having like 430 counties, while Trump has 2,500? Gerrymandering. But this fool thinks gerrymandering is wrong. He's an idiot. But that's okay. They're Democrats. I'm in complete disbelief at the incompetence and obvious corruption of... Now, who's obviously corrupt? Who's obviously incompetent as a judge? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I actually have a video of Alan Dershowitz, who's got a lot more law experience than me. Okay? And he's going to explain to you why that court case for the 34 counts that they made, one count they turned into 34, okay? Because people would go, oh, 34 counts. Holy shit. By the way, anybody covering the Menendez trial? I think it ended. I think the jury found him guilty on 16 counts of 16 crimes. But the New York trial found Trump guilty 34 counts of 1 entry, a journal entry. Well, he made a journal entry. Yeah, well, let me tell you something. That is so fraudulent, but it's going to get overturned. So they call it lawfare. I just call it corruption. So now this person's saying that Judge Cannon is incompetent and she's obviously corrupt. Now, why is she corrupt? Why is she incompetent? Because she evidently is making a big mistake by following this thing called the Constitution. And so she's following the Constitution, and the knuckleheads in the Democrat, Marxist, progressive, scumbag, idiot party think she's incompetent, that she's corrupt. Do you know how that worked? Okay, so here's what happened. One of the Supreme Court justices, that black guy, Joe Biden's favorite friend. I remember watching it when they brought this black woman in to attack him and said that he made a comment that there was a pubic hair in a cookie can. You see, because the Democrats didn't really want black people that are conservatives and intelligent on the Supreme Court. Well, Justice Thomas had made a comment, and the comment was, gee, it looks like, what's his name? I see it every day. Evidently, he wasn't properly placed into that position because he's got to be at some point in time nominated by the Senate, because all those positions have to be involved in the U.S. Senate to get a position. Okay, that's like George Bush had actually nominated the first black woman to be in the Supreme Court, way before Ketanji I don't know shit Jackson. She was a sharp woman, but you can't allow the Republicans to get credit for putting a black person into the Supreme Court, so Harry Reid and his gang shoved it down her throat. And then there was Miguel Estrada. Now, if you don't know who Miguel Estrada is, look up the fake history of Barack Obama at Harvard. Okay? And when you read what they say about Barack Obama and what he did, you'll be surprised to notice that it's the exact same fucking thing that Estrada had. I believe that they took this fake piece of shit Obama, who nobody can see that he ever went to Columbia. I mean, we hear that stuff all the time. But I think they went ahead and made this whole deal about him being in Harvard, and it's the exact same history of Miguel Estrada. So now Bush is nominating the first Hispanic to be in the Supreme Court. Well, you can't let the Republicans do that. Remember, Republicans are the racists. Democrats always say the Democrats and their Nazi propaganda program where they lie like shit all day long. Yeah, we can't let the Republicans put the first Hispanic in. So we have to wait. We'll put in Montemayor. She's a disaster. Kenji Brown's a disaster. Kenji Brown does not know how to explain what a woman is. Okay, she's on the Supreme Court. DEI! It's to a point where it's so pathetic. But that's why I'm challenging all these assholes. I'm going to inform them. I'm going to send them a copy of this video, and I'm going to say, come on, invite me onto your show, and let's start going through some of this bullshit, and let's see how you defend yourself against the truth. Because, baby, that's what I'm coming with, the truth. Remember, when you first of all, you can't debate someone who lies. Okay, like, what's his name in 2000? The climate change bullshitter. It'll come to me. I can't remember all these Democrats that are full of shit because there's just so many of them. So now here's another one that says, it's July. Biden has been on international... This is another idiot. It's July. Biden has been on international trips. Ooh, really? Kept up a 15-hour workday. One 15-hour workday? You sure that there wasn't any nap time involved in this? Then they go, the felon played golf. What felon? There's no convicted felon. Donald Trump was not convicted. What do you mean, Mike? How could he not be convicted? I'm sorry, but what was he sentenced to? I missed that. I must have not been home that day watching TV when they sentenced him to. They haven't sentenced him, have they? So we don't actually know what the crime was. How could the trial kept going with they not knowing what the crime? Isn't that the violation of? Come on, what is it? Sixth Amendment, huh? Huh. It's amazing. He hasn't been sentenced yet. Oh, they were going to sentence him on July 15th. Why? Because it would have been just before the RNC deal, and they wanted to really shove it up his ass. There's only one problem. The Supreme Court ruled that there is a certain amount of immunity for presidents, and a part of that immunity goes with documents in their files, and that's what they were using. They were trying to use Trump's files to go after him on this shit, and they realized that they can't because it's going to get thrown out of court. But they said, let's do this. We're going to hold off the sentencing till September. That way we can run this phony, fake, felon bullshit ad so that everybody thinks Donald Trump's a felon. Okay. Why do the Democrats have to get people to think Donald Trump is somebody he's not? Why is that? I'm going to play an ad for you. Then I'm going to tear the shit out of it. We're going to run through some stuff. I'm going to tear the shit out of it only because it's all bullshit. If it was a total truth, there's nothing I could say about it. So the felon couldn't stay awake during the MAGA fest in Milwaukee. I think what he's talking about is that the guy named Donald Trump, he had just been shot, okay? And he almost died, and he had this whole bullet hole in his ear, and he was going through quite a bit. And I think what he did was took a break to close his eyes just for a few minutes and to collect his thoughts of what had previously happened to him on that Saturday before that Monday. But no, let's not give him any credit for being a human being. No, let's not do that. Okay, so Nazi propaganda, bullshit. And now what we're going to do, let me just check my notes here. Yeah, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop for a second and tell you a bit about America First, because evidently you people don't understand America First. You people think it's some kind of fake thing. It basically is a concept that Make America Great Again has to employ. MAGA has no choice but to go America First. And I should know because I was the first person to run on it in 1994. Nobody said, hey, Mike, why don't you run on America First? No, there was no America First. How did I know to put together a campaign? Now, I put together a campaign in 1994. Never ran for office before. So let's see. How did I know about labor? I don't know. My dad was a Teamster. Two of my granddads were Teamsters. I lived in a Teamster home. I used to walk into a union hall and begin my speech, and they would say, I'm Mike Wiley. I'm the son and grandson of Teamsters. A union job fed me. A union job clothed me. And a union job put a roof over my head. Don't tell me I don't know the value of a good union job. You see, America First is a labor movement. It's a labor movement. And that's why they picked J.D. Vance. Here's a guy born in one of the most poverty-stricken places in the United States, in the Appalachian area of Ohio. He's a total failure. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, no, they had to sign a note for him to be able to go into Yale. And I guess he graduated. Then he went in the Marines for 4 years. And then he did this. And he's a pretty sharp guy. But they have to attack him. And of course, the number one attacker right now for the Democratic Party is Senorita Rita. That's her code name. Not Knee Pad Nancy. No, that's not it. I'm going to play a clip for you of Miss Kamala Harris, who is not a natural-born American citizen, so I don't know how they're going to put her in the presidency. Okay, so America First is labor-oriented. Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay, it's 1994. You saw that the Democrats passed NAFTA. NAFTA sucks. Now, how did I know NAFTA sucked? I knew NAFTA sucked because the power went out. Huh? Like, what are you talking about? How could the power go out? Well, you see, I wasn't a wealthy candidate. and I barely scraped up the 10 grand to sign because they don't like poor people running for office. Gotta be rich. So you gotta pay 10 grand. Matter of fact, there was a fifth person that was going to be in the race, but she couldn't come up with the 10 grand. But the Democrats decided, hey, we're going to invite all the real candidates, but we won't invite Wiley because, he's one of those conservative pro-gun guys, and we believe in far-left Looney Tune communism, so we're going to give his seat up to her so we can see how well she would have done if she could have come up with the money here in West Palm Beach. That's how they cheat. I know. So, I'm going up north, and I'm already against NAFTA. I knew everything NAFTA was doing, and God always kind of helps me out when I need help. So here I am. I'm driving up on this RV given to me to use for my campaign by the Gray Panthers. The Gray Panthers was a husband and wife, elderly couple who loved me, and they loved conservatism and the American flag, and actually I believe they were Democrats. A lot of God and country Democrats down there. And of course, that's the reason why I was going to win the U.S. Senate race, because all the Democrats that own guns were voting for me and not Connie Mack. And when Hillary found it out, she went off like a top. So I'm driving this thing, and it's late at night, and I'm trying to get to a hotel to stay over. And the lights are disappearing. I can't really see in front of me. Well, I guess the alternator. I know nothing about vehicles. Okay, I just know where you sit and how you turn the key on. Now you don't turn the key, and you get in, you go. So I'm having trouble seeing. Now I'm losing the lights, so the vehicle's losing power. I better pull over and do something. So I'm looking around. I'm on this route here between these farms and this and that. And I see this place go, I'm going to pull in here. I pull in there. 5 minutes after I pull in, the power goes. That means I'm not sleeping with air conditioning. And I go to sleep and get up the next morning. Where am I? Where did God send me? Hey, Mike, you want to really know more about NAFTA? We're going to send you to a tomato farm. And you can learn about the tomato prices that the Mexican farmers are stealing American business for southern tomato farmers in Florida and northern tomato farmers. Different seasons and prices. And so I get out of there and I wash up and I go into this place. I sit down. I'm talking with the owners, and sure as shit, it's a perfect, because I'm hearing right from the people why NAFTA sucks. And NAFTA sucks because it allowed Mexican products to come into the country and destroy American businesses. That's what NAFTA was all about: destroying American businesses and sharing American productivity with Mexico, so the Mexicans would have $5 more than they have now. And NAFTA had to go. Okay, NAFTA had to go. It's gone. Donald Trump got rid of it. Because Donald Trump is not a conservative. He's a populist, you see. So, and that's key. It's key. So, we got this issue with taxes and labor, and I actually was campaigning with this black candidate in Orlando. She met me at one of the Democrat functions in Orlando, and she knew I was a U.S. Senate candidate, and she wanted to know if she could come with me when I visit the black community in Orlando, because I was a conservative populist, okay? We're not racists. But the three liberals in the campaign, they weren't visiting black people. They didn't give a shit about black people. They don't give a shit about black people. And so I walked around the neighborhood with her, and I got to visit a lot of people. And I kept saying to myself, I don't understand this. these people are God-fearing. They got American flags, and they got Christ on the wall, and the church thing, and they're conservative. Why isn't the Republican Party going after these people? Which we finally found out that that's what they should have done, but they didn't. So I happen to pick up a lot of black support, and my group of people that supported me was labor, small business, gun owners, because I was the one that saved their gun rights in February of that year by having a rally to Tallahassee that destroyed gun control. Democrats hated me for that. And here I am running for I'll never forget the time I walked into the Democrat Central Office in Tallahassee. And so I walk in and I'm introducing myself to this woman who happens to be the district chair or something or whatever, and committee woman or whatever. We're talking. I'm leaning up against one of the counters and she's over here. And then all of a sudden she goes, "You're him! You're that asshole talk show host." Oh, they knew who I was. Yeah. The far left Looney Tunes really love us truth-telling conservative populists. Yeah, they do. Anyways, I was going to win the race, and when Hillary found that out, she didn't want, of course, a Jewish pro-gun, pro-labor U.S. senator from the state of Florida, because she wanted to run for president and didn't want to run into me. And God said, okay, you do that to Wiley, you're going to run into this guy named Obama. No one's heard of him yet, but we're inventing him now. Okay, America first. You put America first, it's really damn simple, okay? And it's not conservative, it's a populist movement. Populism, okay? I started an organization called the Jacksonian Populists of the GOP, after Andrew Jackson, okay? Because America first was key. Populism was key. That's what American people need. Okay, and you want to know more about populism, read about Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was altogether a major populist. So the idea was also to bring down taxes for people, make life easier for people, be able to create more jobs. I came up with a program called the Urban Industries of America. And my focus was that you've got all these poor people in the inner cities, and you have all these women who can't work because they have children. So how do you fix the problem? Remember, you can't grow a nation and leave a third or 20% or 10% or 15% of the people behind. How can you do that? And that was the key thing about Trump. Trump understood that. You can't grow a nation by 60% or 70%. It's got to be 100%. Everybody needs to be involved. You need to improve, what do they say, a tide lifts all boats or something? That's what you had to do. So I came up with a concept. Okay, number one, it was in the 90s, and Democrats really weren't too good at the economy, and so there were a lot of buildings going down and under, and banks were getting stuck with the taxes for the buildings. And I said, you know what? How about this? What if we do an enterprise program, an entrepreneurial enterprise program, and we'll call it the Urban Industries of America. So the idea was that an entrepreneur could go in and sit with the bank and say, okay, what properties that are brick? They had to be brick buildings because brick buildings last forever. And if you do some really good work, like they used to do up in New Hampshire and Maine, and take these old factories that were all brick and turn them into apartments and condos and other office businesses and stuff like that. So you go into the bank, and the program is that the bank will go ahead and give you a mortgage for that building, and you pay back the taxes that the bank put out, so the bank ends up losing no money. And they give you a good rate, like 2 or 3%. Because let me tell you something, a mortgage loan at 2%, I have a 2.75% mortgage right now. It's a lot easier than a 6-7% mortgage. Okay, but that's part of this program to steal money from the American people, is to do it through interest rates. So let me see how long I've been talking for. 59 minutes. Okay, so here's what we got to do. We're going to go through these videos, and the first one you're going to see. Okay. Okay, this is the video. This is the false Biden campaign ad where it calls Trump a convicted criminal. Just remember, he hasn't been sentenced yet, so he's not really convicted. And there's no crime for making an incorrect journal entry. Okay, I know that from accounting, having done accounting for some 40 years as a CFO and all sorts of that stuff. Okay, it was a contrived false, and what you're going to do is you're going to see the ad, okay, and then we're going to play Alan Dershowitz, and he's going to explain to you why that case was full of shit, and he knows.
Particularly so since, as I predicted, you heard it on this show, as I predicted, the Democrats are using the conviction in New York to try to win the election, to try to persuade independent voters. They just started a $50 million ad campaign. Have you seen the ad? The ad has one focus. He's a convicted felon. 34 counts of conviction in New York. Not a word about the fact that we don't know what the crime is, that the conviction was utterly unjustified and invalid, and may very well be reversed on appeal. But no, you can't vote for a convicted felon. Well, let me tell you, I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for, but I have decided one thing. I will not take into account the fact that he was unlawfully, improperly, in my view, unconstitutionally convicted of a crime that didn't occur and that doesn't exist. No, I won't buy that bait. And the fact that the Republicans, that the Democrats are spending millions of dollars promoting this conviction just proves what I've gone on to say right from the beginning and what the Bar Association tells me I can't say. This was a political persecution. This trial is a sham. They, in fact, use the word sham. They said you can't use the word sham. I'm using the word sham.
All right, then the second half, there's two other parts of that ad. He's a convicted criminal, and then they say Trump, who is only out for himself. Now, this reeks of propaganda. Why? Because it's a total lie. And the purpose of the lie is to get you to believe that what you see is not what you see. Everybody watched the Republican convention for 4 days. All these people have known Trump for years. Tell you how wonderful a guy he is, how he helped these people out, how he did this, how he did that. Trump is a wonderful human being. But the Democrats can't run against a wonderful human being. They have to run against a scumbag. You have to believe he's a scumbag. So they say, so the guy says, who's only out for himself. And then this asshole has the word to say, but Biden is a president fighting for your family. What was Biden fighting for? 12, 15% inflation? Is Biden fighting for us to raise our gas a gallon from like $2.18 to $3.60? If Biden's fighting for us, what the fuck was he fighting for? And do you have any proof that he was fighting for the American people? And of course, the answer to that is no. The only people he's been fighting for is his family, because they get paid millions of dollars from countries that we don't know what the hell the deal is, but they're not going to advertise that. They're not going to advertise that. Of course, Biden did bring in 10 million immigrants so that they could take the money that was left over from the 1 million senior citizens that were killed from the pandemic. You know, you kill off 1 million senior citizens. I don't know if you've ever looked at the numbers, but they say that 1.3 million Americans died from COVID. Now, we don't know how many actually did die from COVID, because the deal was that if you said the person died of COVID, you'd get your money back from the federal government. You see, if you didn't say it was COVID, well, you don't get the money. So more than likely, there was probably about 150,000 people who died from something else, but they said it was COVID. Okay, so out of the 1.3 million people that died, 1 million of them were senior citizens. And usually they died along with their spouse who was still in the house with them because they caught it and they died. And so now you have $245 billion of Social Security that's not going to get spent because the people that were going to receive it are dead. Ooh, what can we use that $245 billion for? I know, let's open up the borders. Let's let in 10 million illegals, and we'll pay them. We'll put them up in high-priced renters, and we'll give them money, and we'll give them business, credit cards and debit cards. We'll give them anything they want, okay? Because we're going to sign them up, and they don't know it, but we're going to have them registered as Democrats, and their votes are already going to count. That's 10 million votes, and we get to steal the election from Trump again, just like we did in 2020.
This election is between a convicted criminal who's only out for himself and a president who's fighting for your family.
Okay. Then you've got the second video. And the second video is of Kamala Harris. Now, I guess what a lot of people didn't know is that she had a brain surgery done on her, and they had to remove a lot of her brain. That's why she has all that word salad problem and can't really say too much. And the nice part is, after you see her in this speech, quick speech on J.D. Vance, she attacks him for not mentioning about Project 2025. Oh, that reminds me, Project 2025. Yeah, about Project 2025. Building now for conservative victory through policy, personnel, and training. You know, the interesting thing is, this is not done by the Trump administration. This is by the Heritage Foundation, okay? Building now for conservative victory through policy and personal training. So let me ask you this, Miss Kamala. How can you say that J.D. Vance didn't mention Project 2025 because it's going to be this and it's going to be that? Maybe you're missing the point about populism. Okay, we're populists, we're not conservatives. Yes, there's a good chunk of Republicans that are conservatives, but the MAGA movement is populists. Okay, that's why it's pulling in all the Democrats. Okay, it's pulling in labor. We're populists. Make America great again. America first. Put our country first. That's the whole deal. Not put our country last like the Democrats do. So you're going to hear her say some stupid shit, and let me just respond this way. Dear Kamala, you come out and you say J.D. Vance didn't mention Project 25. Well, he would have mentioned Project 25 because they have nothing to do with it. But you and the Democratic brainchild of communist Marxist propaganda bullshit want to tie Project 25 around their neck. You want people to believe that this is extreme. Let me ask you this, Kamala. What else did he mention? Did he talk about your storied past with knee pads? He didn't mention that. You didn't bring that up. Did he mention your failure as the border czar? How come he didn't say anything about that he didn't bring that up? Did he tear you to shreds like Tulsi Gabbard did in the 2020 campaign? He didn't bring that up. Why don't you bring it up? Did he mention the imaginary list of your career success as a DEI plugin? He didn't mention that. Why did you only attack him for not mentioning about Project 25 when he didn't mention this stuff either? Huh? I don't understand.
Vice President Kamala Harris reacted today to J.D. Vance's speech from last night, and the vice president focused more on what Vance didn't say than what he did.
He did not talk about Project 2025, their 900-page blueprint for a second Trump term. He did not talk about it because their plans are extreme and they are divisive.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Then you're going to see a short video of a paid Democrat propagandist who goes on and says, we can't afford to have Trump back in the Oval Office. We America, we can't afford to have Donald Trump back in the warehouse? I don't know, the White House? I mean, I don't understand something. Biden's the one that's ripping us off. Biden stole all this money. Biden's destroyed the nation. High gas prices, high inflation. That shit's obvious. What are you saying that we can't afford Donald Trump to come? You can't afford Donald Trump to get back in the White House. Not us. You. You Democrats can't afford to get him back in, because if he gets back in, you guys are going to float away even more. You're going to lose more people. More people are going to come over to the populist wing of the Republican Party, which is the Trump campaign. You say America can't afford Trump. It's you that can't afford Trump. You can't afford the United States to do well. Because if the United States does well, they don't need you Democrats. They really don't.
For more, I want to bring in Biden-Harris campaign senior spokesman Kevin Munoz. Kevin, good to see you. I know this has been a difficult week. It may be a difficult weekend ahead. And I know the campaign has said this over and over again.
President Biden is our Democratic nominee because we cannot afford Donald Trump ever to set foot in the Oval Office ever again.
Then we got another video. It's not Davy Crockett. It's not Sonny Crockett of Miami Vice. It's Jasmine Crockett, one of the black female time bombs the Democrats send to Congress. And yes, she's part of the squad. The DEI team, not the A team. And so you're going to hear her start talking about Project 25, because, see, Project 25 is it. See, first of all, the Democrats have got to try to get back black vote that they're losing, because evidently a lot of black people realize that 4 years of Trump was much better than 4 years of Biden. But they still have to try to make black people believe that they're wrong. And so they're going to use black females to get the black men to go, yes, yes, you're right, yes. Instead of getting a, fuck that shit.
Joining me now is friend of the show, Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks to MSNBC for actually discussing an issue that voters need to know about, which is Project 2025, instead of engaging in all of the extra drama that has been going on.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
Earlier, literally just
you just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about it.
Voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at, calm down. Calm down.
No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not recognized. Ms. Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling.
Don't want
calm
me
down.
To be,
Can you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk noise, and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Chairman,
come and talk shit about her, y'all gonna have a problem.
Mr. Chairman. All right, Chair.
Oh, and video 4 is in the Indiana butt boy. He's going to explain to you how he spent $7.5 billion and only got 8 EVs. Oh, no, actually, he doesn't mention that. He talks about a whole bunch of this other stuff, and he gets stepped on because, I mean, I don't know where this guy comes from. Actually, it was a podcast by some lunatic who was trying to explain how wonderful Buttigieg was about explaining stuff.
Here he is on Fox News, pushing back on the talking point that the economy is worse under Biden.
Let me be clear. Unemployment is lower than it was even before COVID. Stock market is higher than it was even before COVID. And job creation is faster than it was even before COVID. So no matter what rebound effects you're talking about, these are economic results that have not happened since before I was born. Now, in terms of cost, that's been a major issue. And by the way, that's been a major issue in every wealthy country. This is an example of something that was largely affected by COVID. But I think there's a reason why inflation in the U.S. is lower than it is in any of the other G7
It's
countries.
actually not true.
Yes,
At least, well, not according to the Washington Post. They say Japan, Italy, and Germany all had lower inflation rates than we do, and Italy's is less than 1%.
They may have been looking at a different time period, but I'm telling you, if you look at the overall time period when it was toughest, our inflation rate was better. And I would add, right now, wages are going up faster than prices. That means even after inflation, you're coming out ahead. Now, that's an across-the-board number, but some people...
For 2 years, that wasn't true.
We had a tough bout of inflation, no doubt that we did, which is why President Biden is trying to lower costs. Now, look, congressional Republicans were against President Biden when he worked to cut insulin down to $35 a month for seniors. Right now, especially for families that are pressed on costs, we could have insulin capped at $35 a month for everybody.
These people have lost their freaking minds. But you know what? We're going to hit them head on. We're going to hit them head on. So it's 1 o'clock, 110. We've talked for 110. And I don't like to make these shows more than an hour and 15 minutes. So there's some video. And then that's it for today's show. Just understand, the Democrats are lying to you. The Marxists are lying to you. The Nazis are lying to you. Look up Nazi propaganda. Okay, propaganda is designed to get you to hate somebody. Okay, and it works because they sure as hell got all the Germans to hate Jews and not worry about them being killed and burned and horrible mess. And that's what they've done in the United States. They've made a horrible mess of the United States, and they're going to come out lying like bullshit. And I'm sorry, but I'm not letting it happen. Okay, the terror of debates is in the offering. I'm going to send them all a notification. I'll go to your show. You can, I don't have to go to your show. You can, because of this streaming thing, I can sit right here in my office with the American flag from the Revolutionary War behind me and the Don't Tread on Me. When you put that up, that means, oh, extremist. Yeah, I'm an American extremist for America. All right. I love you. Enjoy this video. Bye.
But then we also have something at our local levels, especially in parts of the country where the county sheriffs are very strong.
Yes.
Because the sheriffs are the last line of defense constitutionally between the central government and the local people, local jurisdictions. And since sheriffs are democratically elected from the local level, they can determine whether or not to help federal authorities if the feds come into an area and abuse their power. They depend on the sheriffs and the local cops. The sheriffs can put a stop to that. So it matters for us to be empowering our sheriffs in states where the sheriffs are strong and then getting rid of sheriffs who are going to be weak about it.